Hello, and welcome to yet another geek show where we are going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, what were we doing?
We are talking about Sonic.
Shit. Guys, I love this. I love this game.
Oh,
Not the podcast. You guys fucking suck. I love this game.
I love Lamp.
Do you really love
Okay.
Lamp? Or are you just looking at the room and saying things that you love?
I love Xbox controller.
I don't think Dalton got it.
I got it. Anyway, so guys, Sonic the Hedgehog,
Hey.
16-bit version, because the 8-bit version is a different game that we will talk about later. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that exists?
No, but did you guys know that Sonic
Wait, we
was
weren't supposed to play the Sega Master System one for this one?
I played the Genesis one. But did you
Shit.
guys, I got a question for you. Did you know that
What
Sonic was almost a rabbit or an armadillo?
Wow, that is
All right, we
completely
opened the day
new
with a
Sonic
trivia
the
session.
Hedgehog trivia that I have never heard before.
But did you?
I did.
Did you guys know that Pac-Man used to be named Puckman in Japan?
Yeah.
Insert the
Okay,
rest
good.
of that Scott Pilgrim quote right now. Yes.
So did you guys know that you couldn't get past the title screen without there being a fucking glitch like every Sonic game?
I don't know to what you refer.
Yeah, actually, this is something I don't know.
Okay, cool. So the Sonic Team Presents logo before like the big opening, like Sonic the Hedgehog screen, that text is stored in the same part of the memory that the press start button is supposed to be stored in.
Okay.
So that's why there's no press start button option in the opening title card.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed it doesn't say press start. I'm just so used to doing it.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know that actually. I thought that was really cool when I heard about that. And I'm like, oh no shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that, I played it when it was new, in that era where press start was kind of assumed. And no, it never registered with me my entire life that it does not say press start
Wait,
there.
there's a game if you press start? I only do what I'm told. I just thought this was like a really fancy title screen.
It is a really fancy title.
It
screen.
is.
Way
It never
over
told
the
me what to
top,
do,
too.
so I just patiently waited and admired the very nice 16-bit sprite work.
It's also really funny because Sonic's doing that don't you do it.
Yeah, because he's like, up, Sonic.
dare you to
Sonic
press
didn't
start.
Say.
He didn't even want you to play his own game. He's like, don't you dare press anything.
Shit. Josh, that was a deep reference. That was good. Sonic says, wow.
I don't get it.
Guys,
probably.
rest of it was a segment of one of the animated shows. Guys, rest of the game aside, I just feel so good as soon as this title screen starts
It takes
on
you
any
back.
of these Sonic Genesis games.
It really
It
takes
just
you
feels
back,
so
man.
good.
Like, I'm gonna make the argument that Sega really does what Nintendo don't.
Ooh, I don't know if we have 10 hours to go through that.
I guess the episode's
geez.
over now.
Okay.
He likes pineapple on pizza. He thinks Genesis does what Nintendo don't. I mean, I guess you need people with wrong opinions on every podcast, but this is just like,
Well, you also kind of need an
I don't know, man. How do you
asshole,
feel
too,
about slavery?
so- I don't know, Josh. Are we going to be paying you?
I mean, we're all working for free, aren't we?
Guys, on the air was not the time to start attacking your boss. That's right, I'm the boss now. Was not the time to start grilling me on serious issues like whether or not you were enslaved. For the record, I don't know. Okay, guys, this game. Do you guys have a history with this game like I do? Did you guys grow up with this, or at least the series on Genesis?
Sonic 2, man. That's where all my emotions went as a child. That's why I'm always
Sonic
angry.
2 was definitely my jam. my household was pretty strictly like I only had Nintendo consoles, but I had a lot of friends that had Genesises. That's
Sure.
That's a really awkward plurality, isn't it? Genocide?
Genocide.
That just sounds like Pegasi.
Or genocide.
That's what
Many
I
of
was
my
thinking.
friends
genocide
had
of
the video
Nintendo.
game console known as the Sega Genesis, so I would go to them, one
You
of their
had
houses
friends?
individually, to play on a singular Sega Genesis at any individual time.
You know, now that you say that, I don't think I ever actually owned a Genesis as a kid.
I
I
did.
also just went to the homes of other people to play this game. And then at the age of maybe 9 or 10, I stumbled upon versions of all of these Genesis titles for Windows and played them that way for a few years.
Yeah, I never
And
owned
then-
any of the classic Sonic the Hedgehog games until they started to get released on the Wii's Virtual Console.
Boo.
I have played these on so many systems.
I mean,
I
I had
had the
played them
original-
all by then, but that was the
I
first
mean-
time I had personally owned a copy.
yeah,
I had the
well,
cartridge
I've-
of Sonic 2 growing up.
Well, okay, so as a kid, I didn't own a Genesis. I bought one later in my teen years. So I've played and owned all 4 of these main Genesis titles on the Genesis and on the Xbox and on the GameCube and on a physical Windows copy I found in a store and on Steam today and who knows what else. So yeah, a million copies.
Wow.
And I regret none of it.
See, when I was growing up, my parents had this one friend, and he was always just like hanging out. Like we used to have a pool table in our basement. Like it would be like a regular occurring thing when I was a kid. They'd all have their friends over and they would shoot pool down in the basement over the weekends. And he had a Sega Genesis that he bought and then hated it. He never used it, so he gave it to my mom to give to us as a gift for, having fun with games and stuff. And one of the games he had was Sonic 2, and that's where I got my copy of it. And my God, the amount of hours between Sonic 2 and the Power Rangers game for the Sega Genesis, man.
Oh wait, was that was like
Oh.
the side scrolling like Streets of Rage style like beat 'em up with the Power Rangers?
No, this was more like a.
Well, there were a few of those, but
Yeah.
there was also a fighting game.
Oh,
this was the
okay,
fighting
that
game
one.
Yeah, that game was the shit, man. It was so
I had
good.
the ones you're both talking about. But let's try to stick to Sonic 1,
Oh,
you guys.
absolutely.
So at what point did you guys eventually get to this game if you didn't have it as kids?
Oh, it was a game I played in my childhood. I was probably
Okay.
I don't know
I
7, 8. I played it real
Okay.
young.
see. Mine was actually a little later with Sonic 1. It wasn't till I was probably 17, actually. Like I remember getting like an emulator set up on my computer and wanting to. I was like, "Oh, I remember Sonic 2 was awesome. Let me play it." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, that was Sonic 2. What happened to like 1 and 3 and Sonic and Knuckles?" So I decided
Knuckles,
to get them
sure.
all, And so I remember playing Sonic 2 more often than not with the other ones with the emulator. I remember playing 1 and I was like, okay, this is still really cool. Like this feels like I'm still a kid, sitting there playing my Sega Genesis. And I eventually just stopped playing it and went back to Sonic 2. But this was like the first time like I like fully like played through.
Whenever you go back to this first game, do you always forget going into it that there's no spin dash?
Yes.
Yep. Oh yeah, I had a very humbling moment early on because I think it was the first thing I did was duck down and then jump and then be really confused about it.
Yeah, I had.
Yeah,
I had
but
a
at the same
very jarring
time, they
moment.
did implement rolling. You could get yourself some momentum, hit down, and start rolling. You just couldn't, 0 to 60 on a dime. Which I guess that qualifies as physics. There were physics in this Genesis game to some extent.
Yeah, in terms
Yeah,
of like rolling down hills, I guess. Yeah.
I think Yuji Naka set up like a prototype for like the angular movement, like the hoops and the loop-de-loops and shit. Like, I think he designed that specifically for Sonic.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly haven't seen anything like it in any other games.
Right. But I think like he made it as like a demo reel before it was in Sonic, like part of his like, this is what I did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I can't be 100%. I remember reading about it a while back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm remembering my history correctly, Sonic as a franchise was born basically because Sega wanted a game series that could rival Mario, and they also wanted it to show off, the advanced processing power of the Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to capitalize on speed, and then things like, I guess like the rotation and the loops and everything else, stuff that the Nintendo don't at the time. I guess you could say.
Absolutely. What's interesting is it wasn't even necessarily something that could rival the Nintendo system. It was they wanted something to rival Mario specifically.
Right.
So like Mario was their mascot, and the closest thing they had to a mascot before Sonic was Alex Kidd.
Yeah.
Alex,
they
who?
were like,
which I can't even picture that character in my head after you said his name. So there's the lasting significance.
Exactly. Like I can picture it. It takes me a minute, but like
I just pissed off somebody who cares about Alex Kidd.
Keyboard warriors,
and
engage.
I'm not sorry.
That's the interesting thing about the character. Like, but the reason I think they didn't want to go with Alex Kidd was because he was similar to Mario. You know what I mean? They're both human. They both have like a similar shape just because the way that they were designed, it had to work some way in a video game.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's more edgy than a hedgehog.
Exactly. It's the razor's edge, if you will.
I mean, we got to talk about how much like pure 90s energy Sonic is radiating, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they absolutely designed him to have attitude and be like really animated about it.
The blue dude with attitude, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, as funny as his kind of as funny as his attitude comes across when you try to do him in a modern 3D style, I mean, it really worked in this time period. It doesn't feel like a silly joke here. It feels like a good representation of the character design, his attitude, his body language. Like, I feel like it matches like the gaming experience you're having.
Oh, certainly.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fast paced. It's the 90s was very let's get it going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to say, for all the attitude he has, I think it has to be because his name is Ogilvy.
Okay, I'm going to need more explanation here.
Sonic's real name isn't Sonic the Hedgehog. I guess in the comics they changed it to like Ogilvy Maurice.
You've still got some factoids up on the screen there?
That's not real.
I'm straight up not looking at a screen right now, guys. Look it up. Sonic the Hedgehog's real name is Ogilvy Maurice.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to live my life as if I've never heard that.
Josh,
and nothing
Google
you
it.
say
You're the
can convince
Googler.
me otherwise.
You know what? Just because.
Alex, the point was, if it's real, we're choosing to believe that it's not.
Yeah, you could pull up all the proof you want. I'm just going to plug my ears and go la 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 la.
You're like hashtag not my hedgehog.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why I hear your keyboard going. So, guys, okay, let's talk gameplay.
Okay, sure.
I mean, we were talking about, the kind of explicit point here was to go fast, and not only does that blast processing go fast, but you maintain serious control over the character here. I think that's the big appeal to me, is building up all that speed and the controls are still tight and the frame rate is not struggling. And I don't know, it really is just like masterful control over the hardware.
Yeah, and this is not a very long game, but I actually really think that the level of control you have over your character, this game and the OG Sonic games as a whole have tremendous replay value, I think, because after the layout of the levels, you can take advantage of your character's movement to its utmost. And when you like breeze through Green Hill Zone for the first time, because you know where everything is, and you can have Sonic moving at top speed the whole time, there that kind of feeling is unrivaled. I still don't think there's anything else that nails that feeling of speed the way that classic Sonic does.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really comes down to all the
3D
tools that they give you and how tight the controls are over your character. A lot of the time, you will, if you run into an obstacle, it's because, you know, you personally just were moving too fast and couldn't react. But if you know where everything is, you can do anything.
Exactly. When I die, I consistently feel like it was my fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we talked about Mega Man, I openly shared through those episodes that I cheated my ass off to get through those because they were so hard. And I don't know, maybe if you're actually good at video games, they're fair. But when I played through this one, I mean, I put on infinite lives so I wouldn't have to start over, but then I didn't touch my save states. I didn't touch like any invincibility cheats. I'm pretty sure even without the infinite lives, I would have made my way through this game the whole way. You know, my first shot in, it's probably been 5 years or so since I played this, I would think. I'm pretty confident I didn't need that infinite lives code. I breezed right through this because, I mean, this time through, I was slow and meticulous and careful. And if I knew the area real well, I breezed through it. And if I didn't, I was slow and careful and I never got screwed by the game.
Yeah, I do have to say, like, what's amazing to me is it has the same mechanics as Mario, really. It's run and jump, but the amount of control versus like a title like Mario superiorly wins. Because, like, if I'm not mistaken, Mario, the first Super Mario game, it kind of have like an ice run. Like, you'd run and still like be moving after you stopped.
You don't stop on a dime.
Right. And I mean, that's sort of true here with at least the first Sonic game, but it's like the momentum makes sense. Because I mean, hey, I'm just a fat plumber who's running but can't stop because why? But with like Sonic, he's like a force of nature. It makes sense why he can't just stop, you know?
Yeah.
I guess maybe the one complaint that I would have about movement in this game, and I can't remember because it's been a while since, you know, I just touched Sonic 1. I can't remember if they changed this in 2 and 3 in Knuckles, or if it's just in there as a whole. But I always felt like when you're at a complete start or a complete stop rather, and you start moving, it feels a little unresponsive to go from 0 to anything. Like, if you want to make like minute movements to the right and left, I always felt like Sonic was a little bit slow to start walking, and that's not something that you see very often. But in terms of like, so the number one, and this is Sonic 2, but like in Chemical Plant Zone, when you're stepping across like the platforms that move back and forth, there's an example from Sonic 1 that I'm blanking on right now. That's the same type of thing. But if you're at a complete stop and you want to start moving, I always just felt like there was a little bit of a delay there that I felt would be better if it was not. Maybe I'm alone there.
No, I know what you mean.
I see what you're talking about exactly, but it honestly never affected my ability to do tight, close-quartered platforming at all.
Now, that being said, though,
I mean, theoretically, maybe that should make the controls feel worse, the way that you don't just have one solid consistent speed, the way he gets a tad faster if you hold it a tad longer. I see why theoretically that should feel bad, but no, I can't really think of a game where I feel like the controls are this tight. I still really have an accurate, precise experience with it.
Now, that being said, that doesn't mean the level design is good for it.
There are some occasions in this game where, in regards of comparing your movement abilities with the level design, there are spots that are really hurt by your lack of spin dash. Right. Where you're like, oh, come on, just let me walk up this slope. Are you kidding me? And you step back and try to build up your momentum to get up it, but you didn't step back far enough. And let me try again.
Yeah,
right.
And that's a little annoying.
It's really interesting because I'm going to make the same argument we did in our Mega Man Spotlight episodes. Mega Man 2 did what Mega Man 1 didn't You know what I mean? And it's kind of true to this game. I'm not saying by any means that Mega Man that Sonic 1 is a bad game. It's phenomenal. It's a great game. The soundtrack, the fast paced and environments, the level designs even are great. It's just there could have been a little more polish.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like if we jump back to a Mega Man comparison, if the franchise doesn't exist after the first Mega Man, do you guys think people are still talking about Mega Man?
No,
I think so. Based purely off of the level design in terms of, you know, you can choose your own path through the game, and the mechanic of stealing the powers of the bosses you beat, which was really cool. I think if the Sonic series dies after Sonic 1, like to kind of go off that point, then it's just another 2D platformer, and it kind of gets lost in the wave of what was it, Alex Kidd?
Yeah.
Okay, so that comparison is where I was headed, and for no particular reason, I frankly disagree. I think people still talk about this game if there's no follow-ups to it.
When I said no, I think that of Mega Man, but like of Sonic, I can see people still talking about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is, to me, and I mean, I'm going to be nostalgic and biased out the ass here, but I feel like this game's still regarded as nearly a masterpiece if there's no follow-up to compete it up against.
Oh, certainly. And it's, keep in mind, this is still in an era where games could be very, very bad at like the risk of a good price point. It was doing something that not a lot of things were doing, you know? There was an environment that you could really just quickly understand. Like, you knock out an enemy and you're confused because a little tiny squirrel jumps out of it. But like at the end of the entire zone, you're like, oh, now it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's quick to understand what's going on with the world. Like you're an animal saving other animals from a dude that's trying to make them into robots. Okay, I do have a question.
There's a little bit of half-assed story there, Mega Man style.
Yeah, Mega Man style, but I think it does it better. Now, do you guys like the name Robotnik or Eggman?
Okay, I really hoped we were going to talk about this.
I hoped we would talk about this once we got to a game that used Eggman in the American version.
I think that's Sonic Adventure 1 when they finally switched over there, and I never liked that. I preferred the name Robotnik, but I guess Eggman's grown on me now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way, because like I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Eggman? And like, you know, going back to it, Robotnik is the American name. And Eggman was the Japanese name, so it does make sense. Was he really
always Eggman in Japan?
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually, I did not know that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was super interesting when I found that out too, and I'm like, okay, then I kind of accept.
Or I assume not literally Eggman. I assume it was something Japanese that translated directly to Eggman.
Right. Now, with that though, I do kind of like, wasn't it Sonic Adventure 1 where they tried to make Robotnik Eggman's grandpa?
No, that was Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay. How do you guys feel about that? Like, because like, for example, like Zelda, it's always Link, Zelda, and Ganon, and they do address that like they're generations of themselves, but they never go, oh, this was his grandpa and that's how he's a descendant. Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Oh, actually, sorry, I'm remembering my Sonic Adventure 1 right now. I think in Sonic Adventure 1, they just start calling him Eggman, and he at that point he's like, no, don't call me Eggman. I'm Dr. Robotnik, and you need to respect me. And they don't listen to him, and he just gives up after that game and never tries to go by Dr. Robotnik ever again.
Oh, really? See, I never played Sonic Adventure 1.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're in for a treat when we get there.
Oh yes.
Good or bad treat?
Both.
Oh shit.
That's the most way. Look at my awesome command of the English language that you can describe that game.
That's the most way.
Most way.
Yeah.
Most apt way. There we go. There
Absolutely.
was a word in the middle of that word.
I think we should start using that as a phrase. That is the most way anything could be.
Yeah, that said, let's try not to think too hard about Sonic lore.
Yeah, that's the tricky part too. Like, because games like this really invite the lore. You know what I mean?
So I was just curious what games, what competitions Sonic the Hedgehog had the year it came out. Dude, 1991 was a banner year for video games. Listen to all the games that came out. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog, Final Fantasy IV.
What year was this?
1991.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Sonic the Hedgehog, Final Fantasy IV, Street Fighter II, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Super Castlevania IV, Streets of Rage, Battletoads, obviously the greatest game of all time. Man, like Fatal Fury, Monkey Island 2. There were some. 1991 was a good year for video games, my dudes.
Yeah, it really was. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, I was born, so of course it was.
Hey, I was too.
Yeah.
Aw.
That's why. So that's really why it's the best year.
Twinsies.
So, yeah. So, some tight competition there. That said, let's see. I got a list of levels up here, and when I look at the names of these levels, I can immediately envision them. They are consistently memorable.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing about the Genesis era as a whole, is that there is such a distinct style to every level of every game.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very colorful and distinct.
Yeah, with the exception of, level 1 of each game attempting to be a little bit similar and familiar
Oh, of course.
to the previous ones. With that exception, yeah, they're consistently very different with unique, like I'm specifically talking visuals, not actual level design here.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. And I mean, for probably everyone listening, even the intro that we made up here, they could probably picture Green Hill Zone the second we started just dicking around there.
Yeah, absolutely. And consistently, like, the music is, it's consistently tight through all 4 of these main Genesis games. It's all ridiculously memorable. I guess it has to be if you're competing with Mario.
I would argue that the soundtrack in Sonic 1 is perhaps the weakest out of the Genesis titles. Other than, obviously, the iconic Green Hill Zone theme, I can't really... I guess besides the Robotnik boss theme, I can't really... None of the other Zone themes jump out at me when I think about Sonic music.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 2 and 3 have a bunch of iconic songs.
Perhaps some extent of that here is just that this particular game, I'm the one that's played it the most and gone back to it consistently.
Oh, sure.
So these are all strongly memorable to me. The only level here with music that I don't think absolutely slaps would be the Labyrinth Zone, but I just hate that whole level. The level's trash.
Oh, I know.
The look of it is trash.
I am
the
not a
music
fan
is
of
trash.
Spring Yard either.
Spring Yard was okay. Marble Zone I really did like.
Marble Zone's good.
As far as the soundtrack goes. Okay, I've got a question for you guys here.
Sure.
Can you name 3 Sonic tracks from Sonics 1 through 3 that are like the most recognizably known? Or at least your favorite 3?
Well, that's 2 completely different questions.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, how about your top 3 Sonic themes?
Geez.
Oil Ocean.
Yeah, Oil Ocean, Chemical Plant Zone for me is my number 1 by
Chemical
far.
Plant, absolutely. And what's the name of the mine level?
Mystic Cave.
That
Yeah.
one. Mystic Cave, yeah.
I think we can all agree on those 3 being like the sweetest tracks.
Yeah. Okay, so Sonic 1 didn't make the cut there, but hey, it's out of only 3 songs.
Yeah,
We had 4 games to choose from.
true. But most of them were from the second game.
All of them
Fair
were from
enough.
the second game.
All of them were from the second game. Shit.
Were they?
Yeah, Oil
now
Ocean
that I
is
think
is
about it.
Sonic 2
Okay,
as
they
well.
all were.
I keep thinking that's 3 for some reason.
Geez. But that said, when we played Mega Man, and I was thinking about it on a game-by-game basis and not a level-by-level basis, I wasn't taking notes on, like, did I like this level? Did this level fucking suck? But in this game, I was actively thinking about it my whole way through. Is the design on this level good? Am I having fun playing this level? And other than Labyrinth Zone, that pissed me off. I hate any segment of these old Sonic games where you're being slid down a waterfall or a sandfall against your will, and you'll fall infinitely if you don't jump off at the right point.
Yeah.
And then it's often a puzzle of where am I actually supposed to jump off?
Yeah.
See,
Any level with that in it in these games drives me absolutely bonkers.
I wrote notes about each level, and Labyrinth Zone, I have like 3 little sentences.
Okay.
Sentence 1, stressful.
Yeah.
Sentence number 2,
All the water.
sentence number 2 is the water alone.
Yeah.
And number 3 was Robotnik was stupid in this stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was going to be my biggest complaint with level design here is actually that Robotnik fight. The water here, there's places later in the franchise where I pretty consistently enjoy the water levels, and in the Labyrinth Zone, it just pissed me the fuck off.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot stand the Labyrinth Zone.
Just extremely anxiety inducing, not in a fun way. And then that damn Robotnik level, as a reminder, if anyone might need it, this is the boss fight where you didn't actually fight Robotnik. You just had to keep up with him. You had to chase him, climbing up through a narrow pathway full of traps while the water chases you from below.
Yeah.
And this is the only point during my playthrough a few days ago, my first playthrough in years. This is the only point where I started abusing my save states, saving right before that boss fight, before I ran through. Because if you died here and got sent back to the checkpoint, no rings. So you cannot make one mistake climbing up through this pathway. Granted, when I finally made it through, I realized I had actually been making it really close the whole time and it wasn't all that long. So maybe it's not as unfair as I initially thought. But regardless, there's nothing fun about being told, okay, no rings, go through this tight, not that well-designed area full of traps.
Yeah.
Don't fall behind from Robotnik. Don't let the water catch up to you. Because it tries to be two things that these games should not be trying to be at the same time. There's segments of Sonic where you're trying to be as fast as possible, and there's moments with tight, precise, close quarters platforming.
Yes.
And don't ask me to do both.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest flaws of this game, I think, was that level, the Labyrinth Zone. Just because of that Robotnik quote-unquote battle. Now, following past Labyrinth Zone was Starlight Zone. And I don't know about you guys, but I really did like the track from Starlight Zone.
I loved it. It was strangely relaxing.
Yeah.
For realizing that you're getting that close to the climax. It's such an unusual choice musically to go that mellow, relative to the rest of the game, but
it's almost
it worked. And at a stage where, like, normally at this point in a game, especially these old, traditionally really difficult games, normally I'm starting to stress out at this point. Like, oh, I'm so close to the end. Things are getting unnecessarily hard. And the music relaxed me right down, and I was just having fun. I wasn't worrying about it at all, and I don't think I died once.
Yeah, because like with Labyrinth Zone being right before Starlight Zone, I kind of think it was almost like, okay, we know we made a lot of dick moves at this level. Relax and still play our game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The one thing that I
like it
will,
was an apology.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, no, wait, don't go anywhere. I promise it gets better. Here, look, it's good. The game is still fun. See?
I do have to say, though, there were some points in Starlight Zone where I'm like, ah, damn it. Because, like, there were the parts where, like, it would be, like, one tile up and then, like, one tile down, like, on, like, the plane you're running. And then there would be those little fireball things from, like, what was it, Marble Zone? And if you fell, and it would hit you, like, immediately. But like, it wasn't like, ah, damn it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay. All right. Just don't do that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it now. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It was, I could almost dare say, like, if this was the first level of the game, I wouldn't hate it,
I honestly wonder if it was intended to be earlier until they decided to have an actual story.
Or an apology.
That mandated, a space level to be near the end.
Yeah. But
that said, we keep talking about, like, what the level of difficulty here is. So I think we need to mention the health system.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh wow, how have we talked
Of a
about
Sonic
Sonic for
game.
this long and not actually touched on the ring system at all?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this health system, I'm not even going to explain it. I'm sure everybody listening is fully aware of how the rings work in Sonic. But what I really dig about it through the whole history of this franchise is that without overpowering me and being like, here's 500 hit points
Yeah.
and enemies do 1, without overpowering you, at the same time, anytime you get hit, you're like, okay, I'm on the brink of death right now, but I only got to be super careful for a few more moments and I'll be able to fix it. I'm just as likely to be able to fix it right around the corner as I am to be killed.
Yeah. It creates like an even playing field. And plus, when you get hit by an enemy and you have rings, and if you have enough of them, you already can immediately collect them back, or at least one.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more of them you have, the easier it is to collect them back after.
But also, the more of them you have, the worse it feels when you get hit and lose them all. You're just like, oh, man.
Well, that said, since we're obviously going to compare the hell out of these games, I have to mention, because they're related to the ring system, the pointless Chaos Emeralds in this game.
There are only 6 of them, which is weird. It's the only
Right.
time there's only 6.
Right, and that's because if you went into Sonic 2 and they established that 6 Chaos Emeralds turned you into Super Sonic, you'd be wondering, why the hell couldn't I turn into Super Sonic in the last game?
That's why they added
What
the 7th.
happens-
They're just like, oh, yeah, you didn't, there was actually another Dragon Ball the whole time.
I mean, that's my assumption. I haven't
Right.
seen it in writing.
Has,
I accepted that logic as a child anyway.
has anyone ever seen the alternate ending when you get all 6 Chaos Emeralds? Is there
I
supposed to be
have
an
watched
alternate
it on
ending?
YouTube because I
Hardly.
cannot be bothered to play the horrible bonus levels in this game enough to actually collect them on my own.
Okay,
Oh,
let's backpedal. Let's go
no.
back to the bonus levels because they are fucking terrible.
They're god awful. They make my eyes bleed, and they make
guys,
me
I
want
know
to...
it's my nostalgia, but I love them.
Oh, Dalton.
Dude,
Okay, okay.
You have a
Sell
blue
me.
ball with a bunch of fish and fucking birds in the background, and then just these tiles that are trying to give you a seizure and fucking ugh.
Well, the birds in the back are for people like me that don't do drugs but are still kind of curious.
So what are you insinuating, that Josh and I do drugs?
Well, you don't seem very curious about these levels, is all.
No, I
They
think they're
just
fucking
make
annoying.
my brain do a big hurt.
It's overload, man. For me, it's overload.
Everything's flashing and rotating, and it's
Yeah.
just not cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I got at least when I did Green Hill Zone, I at least got the extra stage, and I was like, oh god, why did I? No. And I somehow made my way to get the Chaos Emerald, but then I was like, absolutely never again. I will purposefully get hit like as much as I can.
Well, I don't know. For what it's worth, as overbearing and trippy as the visuals might be, I love the music in there just as much as the rest of the game. And I appreciate the mechanic itself of the bonus stages on the level of it's something that I haven't seen elsewhere. Like, there's not other games based on that mechanic as far as I'm aware. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, just that it's unique.
Yeah, I'll be honest and say that I think that bonus stages in pretty much every classic Sonic game are the weak point of the series as a whole. I don't think there's a single game where I actually have enjoyed playing the bonus stages. I'm not much more of a fan of the ring collection races in Sonic 2, or the one where you have to run through all those blue orbs and turn them red.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I still love the joke. I don't know if you guys. There's another bit of trivia here I want to share because the Sonic, the blue to red ball thing.
Mm-hmm.
It originally said, instead of whatever it says now, I think it said like
It said get blue spears.
yeah.
Get blue
Originally it used to say get blue balls. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, that cracked me the fuck up when I learned
jeez.
that. Get blue balls.
Anyway, let's consider it a benefit then that you're totally able to skip these bonus stages
Yeah.
consistently. If you don't dig them, then you have the choice to ignore it.
Now,
And because there is no supersonic transformation in that game, in this game particularly, I feel like you're not. They're not dangling as much of a carrot over your head to actually engage with the bonus games as they are in this game. As far as I remember, all that happens is that like you super save the animals with the Chaos Emeralds in this game.
Yeah, whereas without all the emeralds, you still beat it, and then it says something like "try again" anyway.
Yeah,
it's like the game saying you beat it, but did you really beat it? And I'm like, yeah, Sonic, I really beat it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you beat the game and you don't have all the Chaos Emeralds, then like Robotnik has all the emeralds, you don't, and he'll like juggle them a bit and be like, haha, you didn't get all the emeralds, and the game is over.
Yeah. So a bit anticlimactic there. So maybe that's a bit of a downside to this game relative to the others.
Right.
I'll also say the final boss.
Infuriating.
No, I don't have a problem with the final boss. I don't struggle with this one. They get much more difficult as the series goes on.
It's not hard.
It
just drags on for a while. I feel like you have to get lucky and be able to attack Robotnik when he pops up.
Yeah.
Like you just have to guess and be on the right side of the screen when the
he's
pillars
easy
come down.
to dodge but hard to hit.
Yeah.
None of the attacks are hard to dodge.
That's my biggest
they could
complaint.
last for a really long time if you keep guessing wrong.
Yeah.
Who else felt like this was very Mega Man-esque after playing Mega Man and going to this?
Well, especially considering you're fighting a scientist who builds robots who flies around in a pod.
Right.
And you're blue.
Yeah. All I needed was lemons.
But like
this game had a distinct lack of lemons.
But the thing is like for some reason, I don't know if it was like the patternistic habit of it reminded me of a Mega Man boss. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the Robotnik encounter in this game, I could have easily seen that having been a Mega Man boss instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I did really like what they did with the music, even though it's not like super. You know what I mean? Because like.
I don't know what you mean.
It was the Robotnik theme, if I'm not mistaken, but like revamped in a way. Like it actually.
I don't recall offhand.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I kind of rushed through it, but I do remember something about the music because I wrote that I liked the music, but that's all I really had about the final boss in my notes. I do remember it being frustrating only because I tend to rush through these because it's Sonic. Gotta go fast, guys. And I think that's why I had a hard time with the final boss because I'm not patient with Sonic games for some reason. I just want to go, you know, and that's the hard thing with me in Sonic.
Okay, well, now that you mention it, then since you guys are determined to get me to bash this game I love more than you guys. I guess I'll consider it a downside that for as much as Sonic is about speed, this particular game, I don't know that it gives you enough opportunity to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's real easy to breeze through Green Hill. And then unless you have it memorized down to a T, you are going to be slow and careful for a lot of the rest of the game. And I mean, I guess I'm fine with it because the controls are still tight enough that I enjoy the slow, careful bits of it. But the later games certainly have more opportunities for going fast. I mean, Chemical Plant is a huge, long level that is still long time-wise while you're breezing your way through it at breakneck speeds.
Right, absolutely.
I don't dislike this game. I just want to get that out.
Oh, yeah.
And say like I like this game a great deal. I think that later entries in the series, I mean you could
Sonic 2, I mean, we're going to get to it.
Yeah.
It's very obvious that they looked at this game and said, this is amazing. Let's take the best parts and make them that much better.
Sure.
And then having experienced that, it just kind of makes the flaws of this game a little more apparent in retrospect, in a way that I actually think we would not be focusing on as much if this had been the only game in the series.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
So, like, to contrast
being
that
said,
from the jump between Mega Man 1 and Mega Man 2, where Mega Man 1 had some very, very obvious flaws that Mega Man 2 corrected, and I think that Sonic 1, while it doesn't have as many outright flaws, it just has ideas that were executed upon much better later on in the series, that now the original implementation looks like a flaw in hindsight, when it's really not. It was just a rough draft, you could say.
Yeah,
absolutely. Agreed.
In fact, the only flaw I would say this game has is the lack of a spin dash. It's not necessarily a flaw. That one maneuver isn't the flaw, it's just that there's not a way to rapidly build up speed to go up hills. The spin dash was obviously added to correct that. Everything else is just quality of life improvements from then on out.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, so that said, I'm for the sake of this show, I'm going to consider Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be one game, because they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can agree, at least among these main Genesis titles, to immediately put this one at third place.
Yeah, and it, like, nothing against the game personally. It's just that it was a good starting point.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. It was great. Like, if this was the prototype for like the actual thing, then it would have fucking nailed it. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't nail it. Still, it's just like we've repeated before. It's Sonic 2 fixed what Sonic 1 had messed up.
It's not even that Sonic 1 messed up a lot of things. It's just that Sonic 2 took everything that was good about Sonic 1 and did it better.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Can someone remind me that had friends growing up, did Sonic 1 have a co-op?
No, because Tails wasn't real.
Right.
Tails was not in this game.
So I didn't hear a yes or no.
There was no co-op in this game.
There's no co-op because Sonic was the only character.
Okay. Now, do you? I'm sure you guys have been on DeviantArt and shit. Do you guys know about Ashura?
I don't think so.
Nope.
I believe it's in the debug menu. If you make it load, like at the start of the game, like load a bunch of waterfalls. What it'll do is it'll overload the color palette for Sonic, and he'll swap into the next palette, which will make him green, black, and red. And I guess a lot of fans have dubbed him Ashura.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they named it, but I did used to play around with the debug menus in these games a lot. And have crazy stuff like that happening.
Yeah. And then like what was it? Knuckles and Chaotix was the other game that I'm thinking of.
It's called Knuckles Chaotix.
Knuckles Chaotix, yeah. There was a character that people dubbed Wetnia, which was kind of the same thing, but it was an all-white version of Knuckles with red eyes, I think. So they took the word white and echidna and made Wetnia.
Yeah, not an unusual bug to run into in this era.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know if you guys knew about it. It was pretty interesting to see.
So guys, when we get to these other Sonic games, are we going to try to rank them all together? Like, are we going to play like 40 of these suckers and have a ranking 1 to 40?
No.
I personally don't see a point in comparing the 2D Sonic games to the 3D Sonic games, because they're so wildly different that it's like comparing Mario to Pokemon.
Okay, so maybe cut this off at Dreamcast.
If we want to talk about like, I just think maybe 2D games in general. Like if you want to play like Sonic Advance and talk about it compared to Sonic 2 on the Genesis.
Right. Oh, we're gonna play Advance.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
I'm okay with comparing the 2D games from the generation. Like, I don't want to compare Sonic 1 and 2 to like Sonic Mania.
I think everybody listening to this show right now just wants us to get to the point. When are we going to talk about Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, BioWare's Sonic the Hedgehog RPG for the Nintendo DS?
Oh, we've already recorded a 10-hour spotlight on that.
Yeah.
You'll see it get posted.
Legitimately might be the worst game I've ever played in my life.
Oh, geez. Well, that's how Sonic do. You get the best and you get the worst. Guys, do we have anything else to add to this particular entry, though?
Not really. I think I've kind of said all I've wanted to say.
I feel like half of this episode has just been us talking about, well, wait till we get to Sonic 2. So, nope. Let's just...
All right, well...
We're that much closer to Sonic 2, you guys.
All right.
Well, fair enough, listeners. Next time on yet another Geek Show Spotlight, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Thank you for listening.